Good. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Town of Fraser's regular board meeting, July 6th, 2020 at 6:03 p.m. Can I please have a roll call?
Louis Gregory.
Eileen Waldo.
Ralph Quinn.
Katie Souls.
Brian Cirkvinick.
And Philip Vanderneel. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes just the minutes from June 15th?
I so move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion and possible action regarding Melissa Peters' introduction for Grand County Sheriff.
Thanks for having me. My name's Melissa Peters. I currently live up on County Road 87871 over by the YMCA. I'm running for Grand County Sheriff this year. A brief history. I moved here with my family in 1985. We moved to Kremling. About 4 years later, we moved over to this end of the county. I got my start in law enforcement at the Grand County Sheriff's Office, starting in the jail, moving out to the road, and then went to a federal agency for a while. I missed the mountains, came back, got a job with Summit County Dispatch, and had a short stint with cancer that I had to take time off for to recover, and decided this year that I would like to run for the sheriff's position. So my biggest goal is security and safety through service. And I hope to introduce myself to as much of the county as I can to get input on the needs and wants of the community. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to?
Well,
Okay,
best of luck.
that was easy.
Yeah, best of luck.
Easy crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And-
Great stopping by.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. Great. Nice meeting you.
Next is the Fraser Valley Arts and Public Arts 2022 strategy. Steve Fitzgerald.
Strategy, and this time I'm actually going to ask for money. So gird yourself. Hello, everybody. As you all will recall, I've been keeping you abreast of the actions we've been taking through our not-for-profit Fraser Valley Arts that was formed in order to raise money, build, and then operate the Fraser Center for the Arts, which hopefully will be right down there. I won't go back through the steps we've been taking. It's in the materials that were distributed for this meeting, along with the strategy paper. But suffice it to say, I'll remind you that we have established the organization. We have gotten programming. We're doing both events as well as classes through the existing facilities. Where we are now, however, is the first major step forward to actually secure the funding for the center, which ideally will be a place where we will have events, we will have concerts, we will have plays, we will have music, we will have comedians, we will host resident artists. There will be affordable housing for a small number of resident artists who would be on the second floor there. And it would be a place that the community can come and gather and use. It would be a place that would generate sales tax revenue, and I would imagine property tax revenue. It's conceived to be on land that this body has already earmarked for the purpose of the center. And where we are today, and we as the 6 people who are all volunteer board members, we are now entering into the quiet phase of our fundraising. What I mean by quiet is when you look into the foundations and grants and things of that nature that will harbor multi-million-dollar requests. The very first question that almost all of them ask on their grant application is, what local support do you have? And they mean both financial as well as non-financial. And so in consultation with a number of other Colorado communities that have successfully raised money to build centers of this type, we have learned that it's a prudent approach to start by raising a significant amount of money in your local community, in our case, the Fraser Valley, and people who are, affiliated with it, so that when we enter into the public phase, which would be going after large grants and a very public in our community fundraising effort, we will already have in our back pocket the commitments of a number of institutions. Very pleased to say that the Grand Foundation has recently been the first organization to sponsor what I'm going to be talking about in a minute. And I'm hoping that the Fraser Town Board will be the second. And all we really need are 15 to 20 entities to support us in order for us to go forward with the next phase, the public fundraising campaign, where frankly, the vast majority of the money will come from. So what does that mean? The second document that was in your materials today is a one-pager that highlights the strategy to start to raise that money locally. It's something we are calling the Founders Circle. This is modeled after a successful strategy in Basalt, which in turn was modeled after a strategy that worked in Los Angeles for some public arts facilities there. And the idea here is we're looking for 20 to 25 entities from this valley, whether they be towns, counties, Grand Foundation, individuals, you know, it really doesn't matter, but we're looking for a community of interest, if you will, and we think that is quite achievable based on some of the benchmarking that we've done, who are willing to commit $30,000. That would be in any increment they want over 2 years. Somebody could give us $1 in the first year and $29,999 in the second year, or split it in half. In the case of the town, one of the things that I think is an opportunity is we actually, our fundraising will run over 3 budget cycles, this year's, next year's, and the beginning of the following years. So it'd be an opportunity for, if the town is inclined to support this, there'd be an opportunity for the staff to figure out how best to do it. The ask is in that 2-year period that you commit a pledge of $30,000. Each of the entities who would be doing this would be then forever part of what we're calling the Founders Circle, which will give you the privilege benefits that you see on the document that was distributed to you. But more importantly, you will be able to enable us as we go forward to both the media as well as other foundations grants to be able to articulate a strong wellspring of support from this community. Ideally, if we hit around 15 people or 15 commitments, the first thing we will do is actually hire a staff person who will start programming and organizing a lot of our fundraising activities so that the board can move to really focusing on the grants and foundation activity. So that's the simple ask. And frankly, all I'm looking for is a pledge to commit that sum of money over the next 3 budget cycles, this one included, as part of our Founders Circle. And that will enable us to go and raise significantly more money as we go forward. So let me pause there, see what questions or concerns or thoughts you might have.
When this center came up, we were told, and it was emphasized over and over again, no public money was going into it after we acquired the 501c3 for you. And as we're going along, we're pledging 90. It went up to 91,000 this year, which over 10 years is $1 million. So I think we've put in our pledge,
So
plus the land.
yeah, the land is clearly a significant commitment, and I'm not at all diminishing that. The number you just cited is actually the Public Arts Committee budget, the Art and Public Places budget, which, yes, some of the proceeds from the Mural Festival do end up in the Fraser Valley Arts 501c3, but those monies are not earmarked for this project. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And it's easy to confuse. You got some of us who are on both entities, but that budget and Fraser Valley Arts for the center, we work real hard to keep them separate. I guess the other thing I would say is, one, I was not privy to those conversations. I took on the mantle of this 501c3 after those plans were drawn up and any conversations take place. I don't know how to go and raise money for you and for this town and ask people for tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars, if I don't have some measure of commitment. I would agree with you that the land is a significant one. I'm hoping that you can see your way forward to do a little bit more. Other,
I just know that I made promises when that came out to citizens who came up to me and were very upset. And I said, there's not going to be any public money after we establish the 501c3.
understood. Other thoughts, comments?
And I'm fully in support of the project.
I absolutely get it.
I'm relatively new. Actually, I'm new to the board. Where is the land you're talking about that we donated?
So you know where the distillery is?
Uh-huh.
It's the land immediately to the east of it, right
The
behind it.
mural park.
It's the mural park.
Okay.
And the idea the mural park has sort of been developed a little bit, knowing that it's going to take several years for us to be able to pull this off at best. In reality, it's probably more like 3 to 5 years. So it would go where the mural park is. However, and I don't want to speak for Philip or Ed, we have been thinking about some other locations that it might even be better.
So the thought is to put a building there and the mural park would disappear
Yeah.
or be.
Yeah, if we
usurped.
follow the original plan, exactly that.
Okay.
And Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, the grant for the benches and all that was something we applied for outside of the town's funds. Yeah. And we knew that going in.
Well, I think that we do need to show that support for funders.
Appreciate that.
I think that we do, and it's going to be in our community. And if we don't make that commitment, we're not going to be in the circle, and that would be pretty lame, I think. I understand Eileen's concern, but I didn't make any promises to anybody, so.
This board did. And it's a
I remember we
continuum of the
Yeah, we
board.
spoke about, yep, I was on the board when we talked about that.
Makes
Wow.
me feel like Comcast.
At least we
Yeah.
answer the phone. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that,
And
that,
then you wonder why
commitment-
people don't trust government.
right, yeah. Well, everything changes. Things change. Plans change. We had no idea that we were gonna have this kind of leadership in this organization and that they would be so successful so far. And I mean, we hope for that.
I
But
was
anyway,
counting on it.
I would like to support it.
One other question. It seems like I had a figure stuck in my head that would of $12 million to build that facility. And what would that be now in today's dollars? And where is all that money coming from?
yeah, so that is the today's dollar number. We've been inflating it. And a couple things I'll say about that. One, all we have is a conceptual drawing, right? So there are no blueprints yet. And at the end of the day, whether it is an $8 million facility or a $15 million facility, will probably be driven largely by how successful we are with fundraising. So there's room for us to equivocate there. Two, the conceptual drawing, as you would imagine, is really robust. I mean, talking to the architect today said you could cut $2 million off this by just eliminating half the windows. So there's a lot of fungibility with the total price. Most of the money, in fact, and everything other than what we've already collected and any commitment from the town would come from other sources outside of this body, outside of the town itself. It would be small donors in our community. It would be other members of the Founders Circle. And I know of 3 couples who are willing to sign up if they see demonstrable evidence from the legislative bodies of the town. And then where we're really going to get the money is going to be from large foundations that support the arts and affordable housing. And those 2 things are intertwined in our proposal. We're pretty optimistic based on some of the work we've been doing. And the strategy will be once we hit about $6 or $7 million, we will then go and borrow the remainder and then pay down the part we borrow with the revenues from the proceeds that the center collects. Very successful strategy for small community art centers. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. There are extremely low interest rate loans available to not-for-profits for this purpose. Although interest rates are exploding, so that might be a little bit of a problem. But long story short, all the money, save what already has been donated through the mural festival and things like that, and this ask would come from outside the community, or outside the town of Fraser board and taxpayers.
Okay, so you're asking really more for seed money more than anything else. I mean, I
That's
can't see
exactly
the
what I call it.
town, given the other parties, funding the bulk of that 12 million or whatever
Yeah.
million it is. That's a lot of money that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have.
We're not.
Maybe years of
Yeah.
budget. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, are you got a question?
Yeah. So two things. First, I read through the founders initiative benefits, and I think first access to tickets is a great idea. You don't need to discount tickets. You're asking for $30,000 from people. Take off the discount. The second piece is, if you're capping it to 25 people, 25 donors, is it going to be based on dollar amount? Say you get 30 people that are interested in this. Is it the 25 that donate the most?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Good questions. And I appreciate the advice on the ticket part. We were debating that ourselves. Our philosophy on this is it's first come, first served. We are willing, if, for example, if we're able to attract a naming rights sponsor early in our effort, someone who wants to purchase the naming rights to the center for far more than $30,000, we would include them in the founders circle if we are still had available slots. But at the end of the day, we're trying to develop the seed money, and we want it to be a special step for people to take. So we're going to cap it at 25. And after that, we'll have other types of opportunities for people to participate, and they certainly will come with benefits, but nobody else will ever be a member of the founders circle once we hit 25. And we think that's important because these are people, entities, the town, and others who are taking a little bit of a leap of faith, and we want to recognize that. Other questions, comments? We serve at your pleasure, so this is important to us.
I'm in favor of this. I think it's something that we should do as the community, as the town, to be in that first circle of, we've already given the land.
The land
and
is worth more than that.
Yeah, and
It is.
this does have affordable housing. Yeah, hooked built into it.
Yep.
So if this was just a museum, then maybe not, but it does have the housing. So I'm in favor of.
How does that
Philip.
work with affordable housing?
There's
I'm sorry, Brian.
6 units,
There's 6 units on top.
artists. units.
Oh, okay.
And they would be dedicated to working artists.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you think about, what we were willing to give per bedroom for the deed
Exactly.
program, it's less. It's less for
Yeah.
6 units.
Exactly.
And the one thing I would add, and I'm biased because I've gotten invested in this, the thing that I do like about the Fraser Center is it will generate revenue. It's going to sell tickets. It's going to have renters. It's going to have sales tax. It's going to pay property tax. So there will be a benefit for the community and the town from those things as well. And it's 15K is, I did the math, it's about 0.2% of the total Fraser budget. So I'm not diminishing the expense, but it's a pretty small amount.
Further questions, comments, motions?
Ed, is there someplace in the budget we can pull or Tom, or someplace to pull it out? For extra funding this year?
Well, we can do it over 3 seconds. Well,
Oh,
talking about the
15.
current cycle is pretty much already allocated for, and we've appropriated the funds for our current budget there. We talked about, Brian mentioned the deed restriction program, and where those funds came through. Well, we kind of went through that whole budget purchasing Victoria Village. This is basically a 2-year commitment. If the board wants to go that way, I would recommend that we allocate funds in 2023. We could draw up an agreement that for the 2024, subject to appropriation. You need that language in there. But that's one way of going about getting that project done, or you can budget the whole 30,000 in 1 year.
I personally think we should budget from our affordable housing and say that it's part of our and do the whole 30,000 in one cycle rather than two, because I don't think we can. I don't think we can. Yeah, we can't say we're going to do it multiple years anyhow by statutes, right?
You can if you put that language in there, subject to appropriation, but
Yeah.
we can check with what our remaining funds are in the community housing fund.
And I should add, the Grand Foundation has approved us for $15,000 for this year, subject to us reapplying next year. So we're very comfortable if we need to do that through the budgetary cycles. It's part of the process.
Like the employee housing for a penny and for a pound. This is not even a penny when you think about it. I mean, Brian brought up a good point. I mean, what we were trying to get a deed restricted house for is, I mean, we're gonna get 6 affordable housing. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to commit $30,000 to the Fraser Valley Art and Public Arts
For the
Project
Fraser Valley,
to
Fraser
build-
Valley Arts for the purpose of the Founders Initiative or the Founders Circle, I think is the best
Yes.
way to.
Yeah, for the purpose of the Founders Initiative and securing our spot in the Founders Circle.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry. Is that gonna be done every 1 year or 2 years? Or how long?
I think the way the motion was worded gives us the flexibility to look into either funding it this year if there's available funds or pledging funds in 2023.
Yeah.
But what it does is it sets us up for locating those funds or budgeting for them for next year.
And it's enormously helpful to us because we'll put that resolution into our materials as we apply for grants.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye, nay.
6-1.
Okay.
Congrats. We're
Great.
excited.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to hear that. I respect Eileen, your principles, and I can tell you that you have a very committed board of volunteers who are now excited to take this to the next level. So thank you very much.
And the work you've been doing is awesome.
Yeah.
This is great. And all you've accomplished last year. So kudos to the whole team.
Thank you very much. I'll be sure to pass it on.
Yeah.
We're
thank you.
meeting in a couple days.
It's really
Thank you.
amazing.
Great, thanks. Okay, we are now at ordinance 488, short-term rental registration fees. Michael is going to be walking us through this.
Speaking of good work,
Good evening, trustees, mayor. The intention for tonight is to bring you a draft ordinance that we have prepared for you. This ordinance is been pulled from, the language in this ordinance has been pulled from a variety of different ordinances I've seen in Winter Park and Granby, Breckenridge, Crested Butte, and just other ski resort communities. I've done a lot of research of the different ordinances and kind of took the ones that made the most sense for Fraser, that provides a reasonable approach to this. Based on our last discussion, maybe about a month ago, we told you we bring you this ordinance and I can walk through it. Please feel free to stop me anytime you have questions or you want to clarify something. And just a reminder, it's almost been about 5 years since we first adopted the short-term registration fee of $150, flat fee. So yeah, we're almost at that 5-year mark, and in the staff briefing, I kind of covered some of the more local, what the locals are kind of charging. And I also provided you with an Excel spreadsheet that shows a lot of the all the members of the Colorado Association of Ski Towns and what their fees are, what their total percentage for the tax rate is for STRs. And also, I think an interesting thing to point out on that spreadsheet is you can look at the percentage of their total housing units on the right side of that spreadsheet. That actually tell you what percentage of their residential units have a short-term rental license. So I think that's an interesting percentage to look at when you're looking at those with higher fees and higher taxes on short-term rentals. They typically have a higher percentage, similar to Fraser, of those residential units being short-term rentals. So kind of starting through the ordinance here, we've added a good amount of language to this. I have reviewed it several times with our legal team. We do have a good draft here that's been approved by our legal team. We are looking at $350 per bedroom. And what that mainly is doing is using the property assessor as determining the number of bedrooms. And then for every additional sleeping area with a bed, not to include sofas, like pull-out sofas or something like that, but anywhere that actually has a separate space with a bed. And you'll see later that that's actually tied to the occupancy, maximum occupancy you can have with these short-term rentals as well. So 350 is that number. We can discuss a little later if that's a number that we're still comfortable with. That seemed to be the consensus from our last meeting and discussion on this topic. The purpose and use of these fees, as in section E of the ordinance. So we will have the short-term rental application fee of $150 per year per property per unit. That will continue to be used in the general fund, as are a lot of our business fees, license fees, and different just kind of taxes that we bring in. That'll be used for administrative costs. That'll be used for the cost of the software, which I believe for 2022 was just over $20,000. And for the administration enforcement of this, we do have a new deputy clerk that is starting in a couple of weeks that we're very excited about. And a good chunk of their time will be managing this program to obviously a higher extent than what is currently being managed, even though the current extent is extremely time consuming. And that's one of the reasons that we've been hiring this position. So we do have the administration fee that will work to administer the program, that will work with the police department on enforcement as needed, that will work on notifying the property owner when there is any type of violation that is not in alignment with this ordinance. And then the second part of this is the actual permit fee. And the permit fee is what is the $350 per bedroom. And that permit fee, we do have the Fraser Housing Authority line item in the budget. We do have that fund. It is a separate fund in our budget that hasn't been funded since it's been established. And this would work as a funding stream to go towards that Fraser Housing Authority fund, which the Fraser Housing Authority is the Board of Trustees. So that would be dedicated towards housing initiatives, which can include a variety of things that we discussed previously: infrastructure, public partnerships, land acquisition, rehabs and acquiring older buildings and building back up, and just a variety of tools that we can use, including our existing deed restriction program. So that would be a dedicated funding source towards these housing initiatives, just so that is written into the ordinance, so that wouldn't be used in any kind of general fund capacity. Does anyone have any questions on that?
If they have a bunk room, where they sleep 12 kids, is that counted different than a single bedroom, or do we just, because it's normal kids and
Right.
think that's what sleep in a bunk room?
So I did a lot of research on Airbnb and VRBO. There are a couple of those, but there's not as many as we might think.
Okay.
We do allow them to count that as one bedroom, even if it's not listed in the property assessor. So it can be addressed to some degree, but kind of looking into it deeper is there's really no way to tailor it to like the number of beds, for example. It makes the most sense for validity reasons and enforcement reasons to actually go by the bedroom. And providing that flexibility where anywhere there's a bed, a separate room in the house where there's a bed counts as an additional bedroom. It does help with that, but it doesn't fully address the issue. But based on the research I did, and I looked at even a lot of larger homes in different parts of town, I think I found one or two, I think I found two kind of bunk rooms, and it was like 2 bunk beds in one room. I didn't see anything else that was really like a full basement of bunks or anything like that, but I was looking for it.
Yeah, I know they're not, the ones that haven't been built in town yet. Some are built out, fairways and stuff like that.
Okay.
Their whole lower level is one big bunk.
Okay.
So.
How
In
about
the
a-
future, I think it's-
A living room with a Murphy bed.
A living room with a Murphy bed. I think that would count as a bed.
I'm concerned that'll pull out. I think any progress we do is good.
Yeah, I mean, we
We can
can,
overlook some of this little stuff.
yeah, it's a good question. I think that would be counted as a bed, and I think that the property owner would want to count that as a bed.
So they call it a Murphy.
And however they register with us by the number of bedrooms we have, we can bounce that off our software that we do use, and we can verify the number of bedrooms that they're actually.
What if I have a four-bedroom home and I'm renting out one of my bedrooms? A true.
The registration
true-
fee is a
true-
one-time fee.
It's gonna be that 4 bedrooms, even if I'm only renting out 1 bedroom.
Right. It would still be for the full cost. It's the one-time lump sum fee. And that's just. what it
Well, it's
is.
not one time.
Well,
Yeah.
once per year, annual
Yeah,
fee. I
it's not one,
apologize.
'cause
And-
that's different than.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So the mom and pop that's renting out their spare bedroom are gonna have to pay on all.
But again, that's
Yes.
where they could rent it out long-term
Mhm.
and it won't cost them anything. It's 30 days or less.
Like, yeah.
Michael, I'm curious about the $150 application fee. I feel like an application fee is something you do once and after that you're renewing.
So, and Anthony, you can step in here too if you want to. That registration process is an annual process. And they do have to refill out those forms. They do have to often receive help with that as well. To actually re-register their property, whether it's through the same owner, same property manager, or a new owner, new property manager. And that admin fee would go dedicated towards paying for the software and additional enforcement. I don't know if there's a way we can set that up where it is a one-time deal, but typically it is an annual process to re-register those.
Or maybe have a
properties.
lower fee for subsequent years.
Okay.
I will say that even when it's an annual renewal, a lot of people are changing property management companies. A lot of people every year call me, what do I have to do again? It's really not any time savings when they renew. Most people, it takes us as staff almost the same amount of time as a renewal, as a new registrar.
Hmm.
You know, it's-
And the software is not going to help that?
The change of property management company is a big thing. We go through and we like double check, okay, you didn't renew last year, but we can see we've captured all of your rentals that you've done for the last year, but you never renewed, never paid. So we have to go back in and verify that. We might have to have a property management company with the renewals, changing the property management companies. A lot of people, like I said, I don't know why, but every year they're like, I don't know what I need. What do I need to do again this year? Even though we haven't changed anything. Some people are just really challenged. We go through and we do check again. Are you paying the correct taxes? Where we can actually go in and look and see, okay, Airbnb is collecting the correct taxes, VRBO. Because it's interesting a lot of times, like when you do Airbnb, they collect your tax information based on where your geological, location is. In a lot of Airbnb, I don't know why, but they'll go in and change your taxing year to year. And so I see that. So it unfortunately doesn't, takes about the same amount of time on every single new registry and renewal.
And it's similar to how our business license setup is, where that is an annual renewal for the business license, just because there typically are so many changes over time. But it's a good question, Brian. I
Sure.
mean, it's something that we can look at. There are,
I just feel like, all right, so we're going from $150 a year for the last however many years to $350 a bedroom, and it's justified. But that extra 150 just seems like one of those governmental fees that I'd be really pissed about paying.
yeah, we can look at that. I mean, we are separating out the revenues so that the software is paid for through this revenue stream, and completely separating the permit fee revenue, which is the larger revenue stream, to the Fraser Housing Authority. So otherwise, if we don't have the revenues, then we would just be paying out of the general fund to cover the cost for the enforcement, the software, and the administration of that.
You know, and something to consider is too, these are all a form of commercial enterprise, and these people all pay residential property tax rates. So they're getting a break,
That already went to the Colorado Supreme Court.
and that's
You
not going
can't-
to change.
It's not gonna change.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, but it is anyway. So that's another reason. It's like, it's a commercial enterprise and it costs us to enforce it, and
Hey,
it's cost us big
Well,
time. for
so-
housing,
How are they
so I-
getting a break on their property tax?
They don't pay commercial tax, they pay residential.
They play residential, commercial.
A hotel pays commercial.
And it's a big difference.
Well, no, I understand, but
7% versus 29.
For it.
Significant. in Colorado.
Ready?
And then can,
I guess if I'm harping on this, I know, but I just feel like, why don't we just make it $400 a bedroom then? You know, because I feel like that would make up the difference of that $150 extra line item on everybody's form. It just eliminates a question that Antoinette's gonna get. Why am I paying this extra 150 when I'm already paying 350 per bedroom?
Michael, you mind if I make a stab at that? Go for it. Okay, your administrative fees, first of all, we're trying to find a sustainable system that can pay for our operational cost. It is on. Pay for operational cost. This software is what, $22,000 a year, I think you said?
20,500 this year, and it continues to increase.
So there's a cost for the software we use to monitor this that we would like to offset and not take away from the funding stream for the affordable housing initiatives. You know, we've just purchased Victoria Village. There are still other avenues that we need to pursue for workforce housing. We're having a conversation this week with an individual who's thinking about annexing 10 acres to the town for affordable housing. And all these projects are going to need some kind of funding on there. But that yearly cost for the software will continue. So it will always be there. And the administrative fee just simply pays for those costs. It makes it a more sustainable program. We're not supplementing their cost through taxpayer dollars that way. Did I capture that?
Yeah. But I mean, it is a good concern, Brian. That is something that we can look at. I think it makes sense to have the money to fund the administration of the software and the actual man or lady hours to actually do the work. And just, there will be a significantly greater level of enforcement with this program too. And really just trying to set this up for success. And I do feel that if we get a couple years into this and we feel comfortable with where we're at for the enforcement side of things and the software side of things, we could revisit how the structure is at any time. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing to point out.
So, it looks like, these municipalities are kind of all over the place with
Right.
their fees, and, and I compare, we're probably at the highest, at the top end of the range, maybe with Breckenridge. And when I look at Winter Park, they just have an application for a flat fee for an application. They don't have any charge per bedroom,
Right.
right? And the tax is about the same. So we're really out of line with Winter Park, man. If we're charging $350 per bedroom, and if you have 4 or 5 bedrooms, you're looking at $1,500, $2,000 a year just for short-term rental.
Right. And
license.
just, and just some of the, kind of just some of the justification there is, Winter Park does have some dedicated, they do have the real estate transfer tax fee. So when they sell any residence, they do get the 1% transfer into affordable housing initiatives. They do currently have about 1,300 short-term rentals in Winter Park, where we have about 300. They established that fee shortly after we established the fee, just because they didn't have a registration process and they're still brand new to it. Conversations I've had with Winter Park is that they are considering increasing their fees, especially Fraser does as well, because we are looking at trying to build that exponential approach financially to how we can address affordable housing initiatives. With the shorter number of STRs that we have, but yet the impact that it does have on our town and our community, that's what we've been going this approach. You do have, higher costs for property taxes and different fees that they have in Winter Park for those areas as well. Not saying it's entirely justified, but they're just showing you there is a difference there. If someone sells a $1.2 million home, they are getting 120,000 of that towards affordable housing initiatives, and they do have a program that is fully funded by that.
That's wrong. 12,000.
I'm
I'm
just
sorry,
wondering,
12,000.
that's a lot of money.
I was like, dang.
It's off a zero.
That's 10%.
Math on the spot, right?
So almost half of the residents in Fraser are short-term rentals, 45 to 50%, is that right?
Right.
So how are the homeowners going to react to this, and how it would impact maybe home sales, or how are the developers feeling about, that's a pretty significant increase in fees. If half of the homes are being rented as short-term rentals, I'm just wondering how the community is going to react to these type of changes.
Well, I know a lot of developers putting in their contracts that the warranties are null and void if you run it short term. So I don't think they're gonna mind if they don't.
Can you turn your mic on, Bruno?
It is.
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know what's going on. So a lot of the contractors up here that have houses or doing projects, they're putting in the language that you rent it short term, that you no longer get the warrant. I don't know if that's legal or not, but I know it's in a lot of the contracts.
That's not in Grand Park, right?
I don't know. I haven't had this grand plus contract in a while.
I think what everybody is still missing is that without these short-term rentals, we don't have an economy.
We don't have a great economy.
We have a 160-room hotel in the town of Fraser. These people are coming into your business. What's the sales tax that was raised, Rob? On
Put him on the spot.
he's not on the spot because I already talked to him.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
I've already queued him up for this.
Okay.
Yeah. So these short-term rentals are not getting a free ride. So, and do you think that the 800 residents of Fraser is going to support our community shopping at Safeway? Or do we need tourists that come into your business and Safeway?
Well, no, I mean, I think we need tourists, but I'm a little concerned we're going from almost nothing to
I'm very concerned. I'm
$2,000
very concerned about it.
We
in
can't,
1 year.
we can't even collect the sales tax because we have no one to collect it.
We
Because
do.
there's no
do now.
place for
How
them to
much,
live.
what's the sales tax how much do you think we collected in sales tax from short-term rentals? Just anybody on the board? Throw a number out there.
300.
No, we just off the top of the head.
30, 40,000.
40,000, huh?
That's just a guess. Nobody
Oh,
knows.
Okay. Hey, Rob.
Any idea?
In 2019, we collected $380,926.
So it's off by a zero.
In
400,000.
2020, it went up to $481,688.
Without
That's what
short-term
you guys
rentals.
are- You guys
in
are missing.
2020.
In 2021, it went up again to $687,663.
But the renters are paying that, not the owners,
Right.
right?
They're just
But
raising
it's still our tax
the
revenue.
rate.
Well, I know, I understand.
But everybody keeps saying that short-term rentals are the double and we don't want them in our community and we want to. But you guys don't understand the benefits that the short-term rentals are bringing to our community. You wouldn't have a business without short-term rentals because we don't have
would.
hotels.
I think. I mean, we were doing fine 5 years ago when there was half the amount of short-term rentals there are now. I
Right.
mean, I would love to open up the second dining room in my restaurant, but I can't because there's no housing, there's no employees. I mean, I think it's good. I think we should do it.
I think it's too much.
I think it's perfect. I think it should
And
be
it
more.
just shows that you guys thought it was 30 or
Yeah.
40,000 and we're talking about
No, I-
600.
I didn't think that.
600,000.
No.
And half of 2020, I don't even think we could have Airbnbs, could we? And it
What's
was
that?
way up
What's that?
in 2020 during the pandemic. I
No,
don't
there
think,
was only a few months that there was. no.
okay, but still that. They're
mean,
still coming.
But it's true if it's that 50% that it's income, but there's also that many more units that are not in our rental market.
Right, do we know what the sort of break even, where's the point where people are gonna decide not to rent their house any longer because of the fees are exorbitant?
We'll probably find out once
When
we
they
pass this.
When it doesn't break even.
And they'll just raise the price per night.
Right,
I
and
mean, everything's getting more expensive. It's just
Right.
what it is,
And
you know, my Pepsi's more expensive, my food's more expensive, the prices go up and you pass the money down, you pass the cost down to the customer.
They'll have to raise their fees,
You
right?
know, yeah, they're gonna have to raise their rates and that's just what it's gonna be.
Then we'll get more sales.
We'll get more sales tax.
and people, when
I'm-
people
I'm
decide not
against
to
this.
rent their units, they won't rent them long term. They're not renting them nightly, but they won't rent them long. Everybody thinks they will, but they don't. They'll just own them themselves and have their friends come and stay. So that's, I mean, that's, when you think, oh, we'll increase employee housing because we don't have as many nightly rentals, that's not true.
I will say the majority of the newer people that do register are new homeowners. So it is people buying homes, and if their goal is to be able to pay that mortgage with that short-term rental or just have somebody in there. I don't know. Parnell, maybe you're correct. I don't know that they will or will not rent long-term, but I think a lot of people buy a house here, they want to use it, so they do use the short-term rental. Most existing homes that have been in Fraser are not coming new onto the market for short-term rentals. It's the newer homes.
We have 50 units and not one of my homeowners would rent theirs out for a long term. So, I mean, it's just, that's not gonna how it's gonna work. They're not gonna
Wait.
go, they'll just not rent it. Is what.
Well, they'll just raise their price.
Well, they can,
Yeah.
but you're in competition with all the other around the country.
Including Winter Park and
Right.
Winter Park Ranch and, I mean, you're,
I wouldn't be surprised if Winter Park follows suit with us.
They will. If we pass, they'll vote it in.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion only, Winter Park, I don't speak for you.
Yeah. But I would imagine so too, especially with the funding going to affordable housing.
And my question on it is, and I don't think it's wrong, I do like that we're doing it per bedroom, I think the math works out. My concern is kind of like Phillips is, will it affect us having no rental? And that's, because they're 50-70% of our budget. If the locals really go out as much.
Hey, Michael, by your estimation, what's the minimum amount we could charge per bedroom to cover the cost of software and having someone police this?
I mean, it's really our existing $150 fee for the administration of for the cost of the software and for the administration. Likely more than that, actually, I guess.
Well, you have 41,000. How does your math work? You have 275 for the application fee, but for the permit fee, you have 300 short-term rentals. Why is there,
275 for the application fee?
yeah, on this second page? I don't know why you use different numbers for short-term rentals, but you have 275 for application fee and then permit, you have 300.
Or one something, is it two?
Oh, that's so 2023. That's the current number that we have for registers, about 275. We actually have 300 total. I should just use the same number for both those. So I
Okay,
apologize.
all right,
on
just
that.
what,
So we currently have 300 STRs within town of Fraser limits. We currently have about 260 of those actually registered properly and about 40 that are non-compliance.
okay.
So I like the idea of keeping the two things separate. And Brian, you threw out that $400 figure. If we did $250 a bedroom, if somebody has one bedroom, they're paying $400 a year.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the application fee. That seems, that's not the big
Yeah.
number. The big number is the price per bedroom.
Right. So would you be more comfortable with $250 than $350?
I mean, I think going from 0 to 350 per bedroom is a pretty big jump. And, people find ways around, the system. And if you make it too high, you're incentivizing them to take it off the market or rent to their friends or, do it privately, do it through, I don't know, Facebook
We'll
or
bust them.
Craigslist or
We'll
something.
bust them if they do that. That's why we pay with the software.
True,
The software doesn't,
but
it's not gonna cost them on Facebook.
it's not 100%. You can't bust them
know.
if they're renting it to friends.
I mean, if you have a 3-bedroom house, it's not until the third violation that you're getting close to that $350 a bedroom.
Yeah.
It's like I'm with Lewis on this one. You're incentivizing people to skirt the rules. I agree. I think this is too big of a jump. Going from $150 to likely over $1,000 is astronomical.
That's only because we didn't do it earlier when we should have.
Well, but we're here now.
That's exactly right. We're here now.
I just think there's a lot of people out there, and again, I don't have a dog in this race. I only own one house, but and it's the one I live in. I just think there's probably a lot of people who bought a house thinking they could pay for the majority of their mortgage with short-term rentals, and now if we're jumping it from $150 to $1,100, that's a month's worth of rentals that they're just paying straight to the town.
I think we should switch it to 250 because that'll keep it in under 1,000 for all three. And keep the 150 annual fee because that covers, you could just keep it separate.
So will this go to public comment? I mean, this will come for a second reading, and will the residents have an opportunity to weigh in on this too?
Yes, absolutely.
Do we know how much the Airbnbs and the night rentals are making up here? And I don't want you to answer both because your business is private, it's your business. But do we have a general idea of what like a 1-bedroom and 5-bedroom makes? Year?
I mean, per different size, we don't really know. The 2021 numbers for the total gross bookings were over 13 million.
How many units?
For 300 units.
That I can't remember.
So, and that has grown, like Rob kind of discussed, that the revenues that we've seen from the sales tax collection have been increasing pretty dramatically the last couple of years. So I think 2018, 2019, it was about 7 or 8 million. And then 2020, 2021, 10 or 11 million.
Yeah. I think it was an anomaly.
I think part of it is actually due to the software, better management of the software, better software that's able to track and actually find more of the short-term rentals with this, with the muni revs that we use, and being able to really go in and making sure that the homeowner is paying the correct taxes. I think is really a big part of it, and more homes coming online.
So,
Well, plus Airbnb and VRBO are collecting taxes up front now, right? They're doing a better job of collecting them up front instead of pay and chase or.
and kind of this number was based off kind of the goal of around $250,000 of dedicated revenue we could use towards affordable housing initiatives. That's what we're looking for. Obviously, whatever direction you want to go, we're going to go with that direction. But this number was based on that goal of hitting
Actually
that
went
revenue
backwards
stream
to
every
get
year so that we could stop allocating so much from our general fund every year towards housing initiatives and actually be able to use those revenues for other projects here in town. But it's whatever you want to do. If we look at a $250 fee, I can come up with some quick math on the spot, I think, and tell you what that would be as far as a revenue stream.
Kind of ease
The
into it.
13 million divided by 300 units is 43,333 per year per unit.
Right, so
It's a lot.
if you take that and break that into what a mortgage payment would be, you're looking about on average a $600,000 house that would cover. And that's getting some cleaning and maintenance and all that kind of stuff on the side.
And the owners are still going to stay there when they want.
But not every house makes a profit, I can tell you that. There's a lot of them that rent out full nightly and they don't make a profit.
So there's
But
like
they're
eight
getting
new
the house and
construction.
they're getting the equity.
No,
I
I, not,
mean, that's profit.
just saying there's,
Right.
so that 250 or 350 isn't gonna break their banks on average.
It seems like the newer construction homes are much more, those have those higher mortgage rates, right?
Yeah, I put it at 6%.
Yeah.
Which is above the current rate. I mean, we're headed that way. we might as well use
Those
It
one-
is.
Those one bedroom Elk
Mhm.
Creek condos are going for 900,000.
Oh, it's crazy what. things are, so,
Your 40,000 doesn't pay mortgage.
no, not, that's why I gave you numbers, which pay for a $600,000 house. Or,
Which there are now.
or $3,000, well, or $3,000.
Exactly.
It's a
It's
uniform.
not cheap Fraser anymore, you know?
So why don't we,
So-
why don't we take part of that 600,000 in sales tax and dedicate it to affordable housing instead of it just going into general fund?
We could do that, too.
If I could make a couple of comments, one of the things that's impressed upon me since I've been here about the affordable housing is the lack of affordable housing for workers, for workforce. You know, we've got businesses that can't employ people because no one can afford to live here. And one of the drivers for that is the increasing cost of housing. I think when I first got here, they said the median house price was 800 something. I think I heard somebody recently say it's more like 1.2. Right now, we're subsidizing with taxpayer money all of our housing initiatives. You know, with that $800,000 that we pledged last year, the $750,000 we pledged the year before, that came out of our residents and our taxpayers to subsidize affordable housing. Putting a fee structure in place for short-term rentals takes that monkey off the taxpayers and puts that on pretty much the cause of what's causing the shortage in housing. It's we had the same debate with the regional housing authority about who should be paying for this and so forth. It does give us a sustainable funding stream for that. As far as diverting funds from the sales taxes that come in, those sales taxes fund our general fund operations, like keeping our streets maintained and so forth, which helps support that industry itself. So this is just simply a way of allocating some funds, whether that's 250, 350, whatever that amount that this board feels comfortable doing, would be dedicated strictly for those affordable housing units, and we wouldn't be going back to the taxpayer to supplement that.
I just wondering, shouldn't the tax on the short-term rentals go to affordable housing if it's whatever, 11%, whatever it is? Shouldn't that go to affordable housing? That's being paid by the renters that are renting the short-term rentals, right?
Right. I mean, it takes looking at what those tax streams are currently supporting right now in our general fund. I mean, if our general fund supports like Ed was talking about, all the general operations of the town and different projects in town. So if you basically take that $700,000 out of the budget, we've done that for the last few years because we've had good years, but you never know when those years could turn.
Right.
Just something to think about, because we've had a solid last few years. Since I've been here, we've doubled our budget in sales tax revenue, but we all know that's not typically sustainable. We will have some dips and then we'll have some bounce backs, but just so you know, if you were to pass an ordinance that would have to go to the voters for a reallocation of sales tax revenues, and if you were to try to reverse that, you would have to go back to the voters for, if you were to look at a different way to supply this revenue stream.
No, we can earmark the sales tax for anything we want. So when the 1% of the 5% is dedicated to the trails,
Transportation.
transportation
Capital
and,
projects.
and capital projects of the 5%. So that leaves the 4%. So we could say, that raise the 4% raises whatever. We could say we want to earmark 300,000 of that for affordable housing. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be, we can do whatever we want.
So we should break down, this 11% includes 3% state.
One.
1%
I
county.
don't know what 11, it's 11.3 is what the total.
11. So
So,
2.9.
so what's on here for Grand County is included in the 11.2%. The 4.2 is in the 11.2.
So 5% isn't that much really in terms of covering the expenses that the town incurs by having all these people.
So we're only really getting 5%,
Right.
not 11%.
Right. Which is the 600 or 700,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're bringing this back anyhow, because we're gonna take public comment, so.
Mhm.
Is there a general, everybody's okay with it, but the price, is that?
I mean,
That seems like,
The price either way would be 250 or 350 is better.
I think it should be more.
Bank, but
Yeah, and if 350 helps us meet our obligation
what's our
to
obligation?
the funds for the housing initiative, what we've committed to, that would be great. We'd have a revenue stream.
What did we commit?
So, well, what we talked about committing was dollars towards the, help me out here, my brain's not working.
Victoria Village, workforce
part.
housing.
the regional
big
housing.
Housing initiative that we're a part of. Yeah.
Hmm?
No, she's talking about.
The regional housing authority?
So, well, we haven't committed to them.
There is no commitment there.
No commitment to them.
Like with that?
So just our local, thank you. For clarifying.
Well, the MOU did state 50,000 per
Right.
C.
There was something.
So we have committed those dollars. We haven't physically transferred that system. We're just basically kind of reserving those funds for that use.
All right.
Let's do like a straw poll and see who all is in favor of the 350. I know Katie is. Katie wants 8,000 per bedroom.
500.
But then nobody would come here.
No, that's not
They would go to Breckenridge.
Well, they would do it.
Eat
under
at
the table.
Breckenridge. Okay.
Raise the price.
I'm kind of like,
Raise the
you,
price.
I think 250 is
250.
probably more reasonable, you know.
I haven't decided.
Okay.
I'm fine with either.
I
Okay,
got it
so
for
let's-
250 to kind of
Brian said 250.
balance
I'm
things out.
250. So it looks like 250 is the majority, but
250, 350.
I think 250 even sounds high, but I'm willing to do it.
I would
don't-
just add one part to that. If you do Google Colorado short-term rentals, and I've called a few of these communities, a large number of the mountain communities and rural areas are revamping everything, or they have a moratorium in place where they're currently not allowing any more STRs until they figure out what they're going to charge. So what is reflected on that sheet, I did kind of update those numbers, but I did talk to a lot of different cities who are looking at largely increasing their fees. I would just encourage that own research between now and the next meeting. But 250 is a consensus, 250 is a consensus.
We could
I
also
don't-
always increase it next year, right?
Right,
If we-
right.
How did you get?
1, 2, 3, 3.5.
Yeah. I was actually going
Yeah.
to suggest
You were not.
we could do
Yeah,
a sliding scale, we could put something in place that says, all right, this year it's going to be 150 a bedroom, next year it's going to be 250 and then 350. So it's, by 2024, it's going to be whatever, 450 a bedroom, whatever we want to charge. But we could kind of at least set the public up so they're aware of how the scale is going to change.
That would give them a chance to plan for future reservations because the existing reservations wouldn't have that cost built in.
Yeah, that's nice. They change it tomorrow.
So this orders would be put in place September 1st is when this fee structure would start. And it's going to start with anyone who's, once they start to relapse, once their annual, it's a good for 1 year, the short-term registration license. And it is renewed whenever they come in to renew it. Most of those are done in I think May when the business licenses are due because it requires the $40 business license for these. But there are several that are all throughout the year and expire at different times.
Right, because you were doing your research, did you find out why SDRs have become such a big deal? I mean, you've had them since the seventies, and then all of a sudden, is it because they don't have local management anymore, or is it?
It's a good question. I have my own theories that I could go off
Yeah,
on,
but
but
Did you hear anything from the other towns and stuff in your own?
Um,
that you're trying to figure it out?
so the main, one of the reasons I kind of pointed out, if you look at the percentage of the total residential units on that spreadsheet that I gave you. Sorry, Brian, I I should have emailed it to you. I didn't know you were attending remotely. It's basically from that CAST report that you may have seen, Brian. That was just a spreadsheet of what different mountain communities and Colorado Association of Ski Towns. But when you look at the higher fees, and it's when you kind of dive deeper into it, I kind of kept it at about a 30,000 foot level. A lot of them are, most of these municipalities are home rule municipalities that can do a lodging tax. Our lodging tax goes to the county for tourism initiatives right now. They are able to do an excise tax, which is a lot of those total sales tax do include an excise tax. We do have a high sales tax that generates great revenue, and STRs are a huge economic staple to this valley for sure. But it's just the ability to be able to buy that second home when 10 years ago they couldn't. I think it's the proliferation of the Airbnb and VRBO markets, for what I'm hearing and seeing, and being able to I can buy this property as long as I can come up with the cash, or work with the bank to get that mortgage, and then I can have it paid for. That sounds like the American dream, right? So I think that's what you're seeing is people really catching on to this. A lot of drive towards Colorado tourism from internationally. Yeah, it's pretty wild to see the increases in tourist travel on 70 and up here in the valley.
We've seen a lot more police reports and activities because of the SDRs in the last couple of years. Is that the?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I moved from a resort community at the beach. And the problem was, as you got more full-time residents, there were more and more complaints of big parties and just, all sorts of problems. We have problems with parking already, right? But noise complaints, there was all sorts of problems, and that's why the moratoriums were being put into place, because residents were really frustrated with the amount of tourists coming in there and just tearing the place up.
Yeah, here locally, there's probably 20 subdivisions that have no SDRs in their decks and covenants. And for the first time last year, they started enforcing them. They're toward Grand Lake.
Do you have a lot of complaints from parties, STRs, chief?
Certain weekends, yes, Jazz Fest is always a big one. But it's almost impossible for us to track just because we don't know who's an SDR and who's not.
Yeah, fair.
So we actually required them to post something at the house with, and I think there's some language in here.
Yeah.
Like that, but post something so you can identify what's a short-term rental, what's not. But that is a problem. You don't know, and you don't know. And the other big issue was people renting them through Airbnb and VRBO are managing them themselves. They don't have a property management company, so they don't have anybody here that can respond within an hour. And then the police get involved. I mean, it can be a big mess. There's a reason to try to manage it other than just with fees.
Doesn't our ordinance require a 30-minute response
It's an
time?
hour. in
So
here,
1
right?
hour
Oh,
response.
it's an hour.
But I don't know, Chief, if you had problems with that when, you've had an issue and you can't find anybody to get in touch with.
No, not really. Once again, I think it's really hard to know. Occasionally we get called from somebody, the hot water heater is out, and why they think the police are the answer to that, I don't know, but
6-month waiting list for that.
we don't have any way of identifying those people, and we don't have any way of tracking
Right.
who we contact.
So there's responsible there's responsible of in any profession, and all of my units have noise monitors in them. And if there's a party happening, it alerts them. It says, hey, you agreed to no parties. And it sends a text to them, and then another one goes out in 15 minutes. And then after that, it actually calls, the service calls me, and I haven't ever had to go, since I've installed these, I've had no parties. So, and I've only had one party that I had to break up in all the years that I've been doing this. So I don't think, I mean,
It's not a big issue here
you know,
yet.
I think there could be, but
I don't get a lot of calls. It's very limited, very few calls that we get here at town hall, complaints, and most of it's parking and trash, and
Right.
the occasional noise.
Fireworks maybe.
but interesting enough, the second homeowner that is not STR, and they're pull out their trash and then it gets everywhere. It's not the management companies that have trash everywhere.
I think with the drop, I think that's actually helped with the trash is like, so.
Okay, so we've beat this horse to.
Okay.
No, you're good.
So good.
Thank you, Michael, for all the
So-
work you've done on this.
Well, so, so for the
So,
draft, for
more.
the number, are we leaning more towards the 250? Is that what we want to
I
do?
think it went down to 150.
I think it
and
went
then-
back
So we
Why-
want to do the
It's
250 there?
not-
350.
Oh.
On the fence. I'm 350.
Can we do like a,
There's a 250 and 250, I think.
Yeah, I'm more than 250.
Why don't we plan on bringing a couple of options in 2 weeks? One would be what Brian suggested, a phased approach, year 1, year 2, year 3. One could stay just the way this is, one could look at just the 250.
Well,
And
we
that
could
way,
always-
you can have some public comment on that, and
But always revisit it in a year, right? I mean, we don't have to put in a system where it automatically goes up in the next 2 or 3 subsequent years.
I'm just
Well,
trying to
just give them a
summarize the
warning.
discussion, and there's like 7 different ideas going on
Yeah.
here, so.
One thought about that is though it does give the owners a heads up of what's coming down the pike. So for their rate increase for the following year.
They're not babies though. They're not children. They can,
Oh,
they're
have
not
no- you have no
crazy.
way. Yes, they are. Second homeowners are definitely,
I mean, they can afford it.
they have to be.
Can afford it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's move on. We have more to
Thank
discuss.
you, Brian.
Good job. Good job.
The other major part to this was the enforcement side of this. We have a new penalty structure that we're looking at that can be administered at the administrative level. Instead of basically providing a summons and making them go to court for them to get some kind of fine. This allows us to do administrative penalties for any properties that are not in compliance.
Mhm.
And this does reflect what the county currently has set up. Does anyone have any problems or questions with that?
So
Concerns?
do we want to add a number 5? So if there's someone that just blatantly disregards.
Well, that's what that summons will be for. They'll be summoned to court and the judge will be able to do what they see fit to best address that.
All right.
And then one other thing for consideration that we kind of discussed was something I saw in a few different ordinances in other towns. Is they do allow homes that are primary residence for the homeowner to rent out their home not to exceed 21 days a year. If you want to go on vacation, I kind of see it as a benefit of buying and living here, where you can actually, if you want a short-term rent to your place while you're on vacation, I think it's a great benefit. And what I've seen in some communities is they'll do 21 and some are 30, but this is not to exceed 21 days. For those property owners, they actually are waived from the short-term rental registration process entirely. We don't have to go that route. We could do a discount, or this is not something that the board's interested at all. I do
not-
personally know some people that do.
I'm
that.
not interested in it. I think it should be,
Just want,
Well,
like if you're gonna try and collect money from, let's not have people playing the system. So,
I mean, I kind of like it. We did that in our community because the homes were so expensive that people had a hard time making ends meet, especially if they'd owned it for a while and their taxes had gone up a lot. It gives a little wiggle room there, but
it is to a degree, it is actually easy to see how many nights a property has rented out for a calendar year. So it's,
How's it easy?
it's just our Munira software pulls from 15 different sources, not just VRBO and Airbnb, but several others. And they're actually able to see how many nights have been booked throughout the year.
That's not. So I block out all the time for maintenance, which would block
Okay.
it on there. So that's not an accurate, that's not.
I'm not sure how
that's not.
they don't distinguish that. Okay,
Yeah, that's a major headache.
okay.
All I did was I rented mine 21 days and the rest of it was maintenance.
Okay.
So. how would
Yeah,
you
I
do
could
it?
look into that further, or we could just strike it, whatever you guys want to do.
No, I think that.
You're
it should
dodging
be.
the system. Yeah.
Probably not necessary to look into it. Again, it's a matter of.
If you either you like them or you don't. I mean, now you're saying it's okay for as long as it's only 21 days to do.
Me?
You know, didn't you say
I'm
that?
not saying
No.
anything about it.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying
Just
that's
sticking with
another
the
option to
350.
look at.
Wondering.
I mean, what do you do with home exchanges?
I was
Sort of a
thinking,
barter system, but they could be the same problems.
yeah, I was kind of thinking like, what happens if my friends come and stay in my extra place while my parents aren't there and they buy me a bottle of wine? Do I have to report that? Like,
Yeah, no,
Where do we draw the
no, but
line?
you gotta pay the $1,200 fee for short-term rental.
So
I think
It's
the point is
expensive
they're
wine.
yeah,
running it as business, they pay the fees. They're not running it as a business, they don't pay. So if you're renting it nightly,
Whether it's 1 day or 365.
right, it's a business. It's a business.
yeah.
It's your primary residence, you rent it out, that's not a business.
So do you want me to strike that option for primary residence in 21 days? Yes. Let me strike that. Not look into it.
I do.
You do want me to look into it? Or you
Well,
want to
then-
strike it?
If it's over,
I'm
some
on the
people
fence with that. I don't
I'm not
know.
trying to make
I
this
think we should
complicated.
learn
You're
there.
saying you're for them, but you're not. That's where you're being.
some people.
What do you,
that rent
no, it's a primary residence,
So,
you
but
know?
if they're
Like,
primary, so does that mean they're living there? The primary.
They claim it as their primary residence.
Which means you're registered to vote or.
That's property assessor information. They can see, they're able
see if
to
it's the primary or
see if it's a
secondary home.
primary, secondary investment property.
I could take it or leave it, really. What I was saying is like, what if I have someone come stay there as a friend and then do I have to report that?
That doesn't
I
matter.
know.
No.
Well, then you don't count.
But still, it's kind of like, I don't want to be that close to breaking the law, you know?
That's not.
Makes
close.
sense.
That's not.
That's not close.
That's
Yeah.
not anywhere.
If you're
Now,
not
if you're
charging.
charging a bottle of whiskey every night, that would be different.
So
Really good whiskey.
I will strike that. Is that the direction? Strike that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine.
I thought I thought it was a cool idea, but you're right. It's too much of a slippery slope. So just I would strike it.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, we will reach out to some folks to help get some better community input before the next reading. And present this in a couple more weeks. So our intent is to bring you a final ordinance that will have options in it, like the option 1, the stepping for the fees per bedroom. And then the option 2 for the $250 per bedroom. And then, of course, any other amendments as you get into this. I did add a lot of safety things in that, which the fire department blessed off on. And yeah, that's really it. All right,
Thanks.
Good work, Michael.
good. Any questions?
Very
Yeah, good work, Michael.
I-
When would public comment be?
Our next meeting.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay.
July 20th.
Can we,
Breckenridge said that they put a moratorium on or a restriction, I don't know. But the mayor said it was more difficult than COVID.
Michael, where is that primary versus secondary resident? And
So that's actually.
and then I have one more thing. Can we not have this in 2 weeks so we can give time for people to get notified of this week? Let's do it in a month.
I'll be back with it.
It's actually just some verbiage that I pulled.
it's not in this ordinance.
It's not in the ordinance. It's just something that I kind of researched to see if there was any interest in including it. So that is not in the ordinance whatsoever. For the 21-day and primary residence.
Okay, so this doesn't matter if it's your primary or your secondary residence.
Good discussion.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, resolution 2022-0701, adopting wastewater collection system master plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Has everyone had a chance to read over the master plan
Mhm.
that was proposed by Merrick?
It's too long to consider on a first reading.
It is. It's a long document. We engaged with Merrick last year to do a wastewater collection system master plan. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, it said 2020. Was it last year?
I thought it was 2021. That could have been a typo. Maybe it was 2020.
So it was Adam that initiated this, wasn't it?
Adam Quicklin initiated this. It was budgeted. It was
Mhm.
approved to pursue this wastewater collection system master plan.
Yeah.
We have issues with our collection system, especially in the old town. We have a lot of infiltration and inflow. We have questions about our future growth and what size infrastructure we need to support that growth. The wastewater collection system master plan analyzed what our current collection system is, evaluate what our growth projections would be, prioritize where our greatest need were, and then they even divided that into whether that would be development driven or basically infiltration and inflow driven. I appreciate the work that Merrick did on that. We have gone back and forth with Merrick several times in the past month and a half. Even before Adam left, we were doing some reviews of the draft. I don't recall if we presented the draft plan. I think we might have to the board at one time about a month and a half ago. But this is the final product. And what it does, it sets out a path forward for us to start doing capital planning to address some of those needs. What I particularly liked about the plan was the highest priority of needs, in my view of what I'm seeing there, is in the Old Town area where we have undersized pipes, where we have the old clay pipe system. And that increases the amount of inflow and infiltration that gets into our system, which affects our wastewater master plan, wastewater treatment plant, and their ability to treat the waste. Is very expensive to treat clean water. We also have an obligation with the JFOC to address our inflow and infiltration. The town several years ago did some lining of some of the clay pipes here in Old Town. That didn't work at all. And it didn't stop the amount of inflow and infiltration.
Darn it.
One of the projects that I would focus on as far as budgeting for next year is to replace two of those clay pipelines that on this side of the railroad tracks. They put some cost estimates of around $400,000. There'll be engineering fees and so forth. But again, if there's wanted to present this with the resolution to adopt this as our master plan. And like I said, this will become our 10-year CIP capital improvement plan for our wastewater collection system.
I think it's a wonderful document and a really good guiding document. Gives us an idea of what we're looking at in the future, where our endpoints are, when we need to start planning for expansions, when we have to say no or not.
It does
It's-
take into consideration which areas of our collection system would be development driven. And the benefit of that is if it's development driven, then those are usually costs that are passed on to the developer. For example, the first priority listed toward the back of the document talked about increasing the sewer crossing at Highway 40 because our current system that comes off of the I think the Myers subdivision is part of the Alpenglow and so forth. If you remember those submittals that came to the Planning Commission discussion staff has had, that project cannot go forward unless they increase the sewer capacity because the current capacity is almost maxed out. So that project is actually ongoing now. Mr. Lipscomb is doing that work. That's the barricade you see by the frontage road there by Lions Pond. And that is a development driven project that'd be fully funded by the developer, but it addresses the need with our system. This also allows us to put some general rules in place when we look at further developments as well. So we don't necessarily have to go straight to Merrick and say, evaluate our whole system. We've already done that evaluation. And we can start making some solid recommendations. I think a little bit quicker, a bit more responsive. And most of that plan is about how they collected the data and the raw data and the numbers and so forth. And that's, that whole last half is, you know, even I look at it in my eyes. closed,
Yeah.
so,
Last
You know,
So it says that the residential portion was from a recent JFOC accounting analysis.
I'm not aware of
That's on page 4.
anything that the JFOC did on accounting. Did that happen? Did it say when that happened?
Recent.
I know we've done an EQR study with the wastewater plant to determine what what those EQRs allocation will be based on our treatment capacity of the plant. That could have been used as part of that study. But
So who did that analysis?
the EQR study, I'd have to look to see who actually did. It was not Merrick who did that. We had another agency. But I don't know.
I guess I'd like to see that. And one thing that concerns me about the JFOC and our partners is that they have attorneys. We don't have an attorney. We just have an attorney for the plant. And he has told us that he will rule against Fraser, that he doesn't represent Fraser, the town of Fraser.
I remember him saying that, but I don't remember any conversation where he said he would rule against Fraser.
If he saw it appropriate, he would.
Yeah, he does represent simply the plant itself.
Right. And with the JFOC agreement, I feel we need someone to represent us. And I don't know who that would be.
I don't know either, because Kent, our town attorney, represents Grand County Water and Sand District number 1. That would create a conflict.
Right, definitely. And I don't know if it's still Jack DeCola who represents Winter Park Ranch, but he did at one time.
I believe he does still.
He still does.
I think so. He was at the Christmas party. I know that.
Okay.
I hosted it. I'm not sure. I think he did.
Good comments.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? So you're gonna get that information back for questions, and then we'll bring this back. at a-
Sure, certainly can. I'll bring the copy of the EQR study, include that for the next meeting.
Oh, and another thing, yeah, we were told, the brewery, we should be patient and wait for the study to be done. Where in here, it's calling for it already, and has a remedy in here. So that seems to,
Well, they're identifying the need to address brewery waste.
oh,
It-
right,
it-
we
it-
all
the
know
master-
that, but yeah,
And that's why the JFOC has a contract with Geosyntec to put together an industrial pretreatment program.
There's a number that was kind of shocking that Joe told me at the JFOC last meeting that they had, and I can't really say for sure. There's either 65 or 75 $1,000 it costs the town of Fraser to haul off brewery's waste a year. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe
It's a
so.
lot.
I could,
Yeah, they could get people to take that if they want. All the ranchers would take it for the feed.
I don't
Not-
think it will once
not-
it goes through the plant.
Not
though.
after it goes to the plant.
The
a lot of
breweries
the
can.
nutrition is gone by that
Yeah.
time.
They catch it before it goes to the plant.
So
That's would be great.
that's a
Brewers
big
caught
number.
it. They forgot in their system.
Okay, we'll bring this back in 2 weeks.
Next is the pavement maintenance resolution with elite surface infrastructure.
Thank you. We went out for a combined bid and in cooperation with Winter Park. This is what we did last year. Elite Surface Infrastructure was awarded the project last week. Everyone was pleased with their work. They were the only ones who bid on this combined project. We budgeted $50,000 for two projects. One is Wapiti Drive and the other one is Lower Rendezvous Drive to do some resurfacing there. ESI's bid for our portion came in at $394, which is about $106,000 below budget. They would like to get approval. I think Winter Park has voted on this last night. I have not followed up with them. But if we approve the work, it's scheduled to begin sometime after Labor Day.
Did we, why is the Lower Rendezvous? That's not a very old subdivision. It wasn't paved. Why is that one paved? Do we know?
I
why?
don't know.
Because that, I mean, the original pavement in like on Wapiti was a long time before Rendezvous. Why is that?
I'm
paved?
thinking there was some cross cuts for.
I don't know. I mean, they're doing, but I'm just curious why that asphalt is failing over the stuff that was put in a long time. ago.
That might tell you it could be a construction.
I think it had to do with construction. I'm not
Well, then
positive.
why are we, because it's gonna continue, the
Right.
construction, so
Well,
why are we?
Well, but they had to do a cross cut. I believe that they had.
I will look
might be
in-
wrong.
I will
if
look
they're trying
into
to avoid
that, but I mean, I don't have anybody from the streets department
Just
to
before.
talk about the condition of,
Yeah.
of Lower Rendezvous Road and what needs to be done there. But
I just think we should look at our subdivision agreements if the asphalt's gonna fail that quickly. We should be looking at that, because this is a huge hit to the town.
Right.
And that's not that old. I mean, that asphalt is not
Yeah.
that old.
We do want to take advantage of having this contractor available.
No, I'm not saying let's
Yeah.
not do it. I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm concerned looking forward, why, I wanna know why that asphalt failed.
Okay.
Moving forward, how do we?
And
protect
if-
this?
And if it is from construction, why don't we have any protection from?
Yeah, I believe charges taxes back to the homeowners, getting paid for the roads and the utilities.
Private.
The, speaking of a little road section, I don't think it's called John's, but it's the little stretch from the corner of where Rocky Mountain Roastery is out to the highway.
Those towns.
It's getting really bad. Just that little short stretch.
They did put asphalt in it today, patches.
Today? Okay, good. They said it's up for patch, but I was thinking if we're way under budget, how much it would cost to do an overlay on that section.
Like we did by Wendy's last year.
But do you need approval of this tonight, Ed, to be able to secure this agreement?
not if you've got questions. Lower
Well,
Rendezvous. I mean, this went through a review process last year. It was approved in the budget for Lower Rendezvous, so. Again,
I
but
think we should-
I'd be feel more comfortable in answering your questions before you vote on it.
Okay, so it's not,
Lower Rendezvous, if the damage is due to construction, shouldn't the developer have responsibility and
Not if it's been accepted by the town with a 1-year warranty period, so this is now a town road. So we have full responsibility for that.
We charge for road cuts and heavy equipment going over the road.
We don't charge for heavy equipment. We have laws in the books that talk about what type of equipment. I know Mr. Lipscomb doesn't quite follow those with those big off-road trucks that he brings on the roads, but I've never had that problem with Rendezvous.
It is weird that that road is deteriorating now. Like they just got a lousy patch of that. Right.
Wait, that what happened in Grand Park, that extension had to be repaved?
It happened on the highway too. Happened on Berkeley Pass.
Is that because of faulty construction or faulty asphalt or whatever?
Yeah, some kind of bad asphalt bunch that came out.
Come on, Brian, you know the answer to that one.
Brian.
Didn't you tell us, didn't you tell us that they had to haul the asphalt further?
From Summit County.
From Summit County, so that the asphalt cooled quicker than?
Yeah, but that was Highway 40.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it, yeah. But maybe that.
Since when I told someone that, they said it's heated up in the
Yeah.
the roller again, so they didn't think that was a legitimate
that
explanation.
was straight from the voice of CDOT.
I am okay with this, but I was just curious why it failed.
Yeah.
And what we can do in
And
the
what we can do.
future.
Then let's move ahead with it. I think we should move ahead with it. And then if we need to find out why it failed. I would like to make a motion.
Well, step up to your microphone.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution 2022-0702 pavement maintenance resolution with Elite Service.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We still want to know though.
Oh, I'll get your answer.
And by accepting the road, did we screw up?
Right.
I mean, yeah, was it not constructed right and we still accepted it?
Well, we don't accept a road unless it goes through, we have to have review the testing reports, which is, you know, the temperature, the width, the thickness, the engineering write-offs on that. We do inspections of the road. There's a 1-year warranty period that we do after we hold surety, before we do a final acceptance. So there's a procedure that we follow for every public infrastructure improvement that's being made there. I don't know the reason why, and I don't even know if it has failed. You know, there could be some other reasons that I'm just not aware of. So, but I will look that up and have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is construction guarantee agreement for US Highway 40 sewer bore.
Thank you. I'll fill this one as well. As I mentioned earlier, when we were talking about the wastewater collection system master plan, Grand Park Development was required to install a sewer main through a bore underneath US 40 to support Alpenglow. This was identified in the Planning Commission resolution. There was also communication earlier in the year between our Public Works Director, Russell, and Clark, again, reminding him that we needed a construction guarantee, or actually at the time, a subdivision improvement agreement and surety for the project. That didn't happen. And Clark showed up with his team to start boring and kind of caught us a little bit by surprise. So at this point, he is actually under construction, so I went ahead and gave him the go ahead, but I need an instrument that allows us certain protections, that allows us to go back and exercise our rights under our code if the construction fails or if it isn't completed. Our code allows for the exercise of us to step in and take over that project and charge those fees back to the developer. Since he's already under construction, we have prepared a construction guarantee agreement that does not call for surety, but it does outline our procedures for default. It outlines our procedures for preliminary acceptance, a 1-year warranty period, and a final acceptance. This is the avenue that we need to pursue so that we have our protections in place in case of a default. But again, it's not necessarily a burden on Clark at this point to sign this agreement. If he doesn't sign the agreement, we have two options. We can just simply never accept the infrastructure, which is not a very valid option, or we can put a stop work order on there until he signs it. But he has a copy of this in his hand, and I haven't heard back from him yet on this.
So he was allowed to continue even though he hadn't done his,
He had crews in place. and,
oh, I know, but yeah,
He raised pretty big steam.
Yeah, well, the permits and everything you needed.
He had a traffic control plan, which was approved by the town. I believe there's an access permit that was approved. There's approved construction plans as well. There was just never a subdivision improvement agreement. Clark's explanation is that this isn't tied to a subdivision improvement agreement. Personally, it sounds like a way he works around the system so he doesn't have to jump through all the hoops at the town.
Isn't this what he said? When have I never finished? When have I ever not finished anything? Isn't it this what he said it about?
No, that was a different project.
Oh.
I mean, it concerns me that there's no surety.
But this is all in, isn't this all in highway?
He's got permits from CDOT to do the work. Again, the construction drawings were approved.
This is not the town of Fraser, it's. Yeah, it's under the CDOT, right?
Yeah, but it will be, the infrastructure will
our-
be dedicated to the town.
It's our
as it will be
infrastructure.
part of our sewer infrastructure.
Well, and he has to have it completed before we approve any additional subdivisions up there. So it's to his advantage to get it done.
So that's the third option. We can simply say, no, we're just not going to approve your plans for the
Yeah,
Alpenglow because you
right,
didn't
because
sign
it's
the
in
contract
place.
here.
I'll saw how that went last time, right?
So I admit, we got a little egg in our face because this kind of slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
We didn't catch it in time.
That's okay.
Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no. Well, since you're doing the job of.
We've
our
got a
public works
remedy,
department.
but I still.
Yeah.
I'm a little taken aback that we didn't catch this.
Yeah.
So you're just looking for us to prove this to get it signed.
Right. And then we can take it to Clark for his signature. And this was written, Kent and I went over the requirements for this. We do have in our code Appendix 4 of Chapter 19 talks about construction guarantee agreements if it's not tied to a subdivision.
Okay.
But we did make a few modifications because of, like I said, he already had people on duty and contractors hired. and,
Yeah.
But he always does.
Yeah, he always does that.
Okay, is there a
So
motion?
this was approved by the planning commission back in March.
We have quite a few conditions.
There
right?
was, when it went to the planning commission, they had conditions on the Alpenglow. Is that as late as
Mhm.
March? And there was like 9 different conditions and there was a lot of discussion over a couple of months between how Alpenglow might have affected Cousins Meadow. There was communication back and forth between Kent and our legal teams. We made certain conditions about improving Old Victory Road. And also this was a major consideration as well.
Yeah, it was.
And after him saying no for a long time, he finally decided to do it. Typical.
Did he satisfy all these conditions?
Not all of them.
Oh, it hasn't been approved yet.
What didn't come before the board?
It has not come before the
Right.
board,
Right.
but he knows it's coming.
But this sewer line, this addition is bigger than just Alphamore.
Right.
I mean, I can't read his mind. I wish I could.
No,
But I think he
No, you
finished,
don't.
I think he finished the railroad board. He had a crew in place and decided to go ahead, let's just. They're already mobilized, let's just get this going.
Well, at least it's some sort of agreement that we can have. I hope he signs it. But it's underway and it needs to be done.
Mhm.
And it's a huge part of our infrastructure. I've made too many motions tonight.
No, you can never make enough motions.
Oh, come on, somebody else. can
Make
make this
it-
motion.
One more question. So what if he refuses to sign it?
Then we just don't accept it.
We don't accept the infrastructure. We don't accept.
If he doesn't want to sign it, I'll have a conversation with him. I will do like he does to us. Threaten him with the stop work order.
What if he's already finished it?
No, he's gonna be working
You're
on this.
funny.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Like I
What's
said,
the
it's-
consternation of the fire
It's
department,
no,
emergency access?
there's no money to exchange hands with us, but it does give us our protection.
what'd you say about the fire department, Katie?
Commenting about that, their second access in the Safeway,
Yeah,
emergency access. But does that sewer line run underneath that access road?
the access road is blocked by an excavator.
I don't know where the sewer,
Right.
existing sewer line is. The sewer line may be between Highway 40 and the frontage road there. But I don't think he's boring underneath the frontage road. It's just Highway 40.
But his equipment is on the access road.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is blocking.
And he got approval from the town with the traffic control plan to close that road.
Okay.
Is that right in front of that pond? There's
Mhm.
a big.
Yep.
There's a sign in the middle of the road and I knew someone was gonna run over. Someone ran over it this afternoon. That's an accident waiting to happen. I don't know who put it there, but it's,
No, in the access road or?
no, on 40.
On
So if
40.
you're pulling out of Old Victory and you're making a left towards, like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to
Oh.
Fraser,
I know.
it's
exactly.
right in the middle of the road.
It's been hit numerous times.
Somebody needs to do something about that. It's dangerous. Someone's gonna have an accident.
What were you talking about exactly? I'm sorry, I'm not following.
That's part of the traffic control plan for the construction. The traffic control plans, alerts traffic coming from the north and south that there's a road closed ahead, there's no right-hand turn or there's no left-hand turn from the other direction. It basically controls the traffic through there and moves the traffic safely. The location of that sign was part of the traffic control plan.
It's saying you can't turn left.
Yeah.
It's like you're going south
Correct.
from Fraser to Winter Park.
Mhm.
You're gonna turn into the ponds there.
Mhm.
There's
Oh, yes, yeah. Okay.
something right in the
Thank
middle of the
you. Yep,
road.
got it. I know that.
Okay.
I was thinking it was on the other side for some reason. Thank you.
See that thing?
So people can't get to the ponds?
They can come in from Safeway and get,
Well,
You
that's
can't turn
one
down
way.
that road.
not there.
Right?
Correct. You cannot turn down that road. Access road.
No, but it's one way.
When it
At
starts
some
being
point,
paved.
it's one way. You
Yeah.
can't get up to where those,
I think after you get to the point where the two ponds meet,
Mhm.
that's when it changes to two-way traffic.
right.
Right after the charging.
Mhm.
And right after pretty much where you're doing the construction. No one is having problems parking there. Just look at how many people are fishing there on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Okay, motion? For now, come on.
I'm looking for the number here and I can't find it.
Katie?
It's,
Motion
yeah.
to hand or give or have a sign, what are we saying?
Approve.
I know, but what is it?
No number.
A motion to approve the construction guarantee agreement, US Highway 40 sewer bore with.
There, second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Lions
Okay.
Pond bathroom updates.
More good work, Ed,
I,
on this.
in the spotlight tonight, quite a bit.
You've been doing a lot of work.
The Lions Pond project, tried to give as much history as I could on this. This has been a project that was identified in the Fraser River Corridor Master Plan. To put a bathroom in the common area just to the east and between the two ponds. There was a grant request made. There was some engineering drawings and the town had engaged Bowman Consulting to put together some conceptuals. We did receive a grant from DOLA for the project. And from my understanding, COVID hit sometime shortly thereafter. And there wasn't much movement on that project for basically a year and a half. COVID could have been just part of that. For whatever reason, it wasn't progressing. Staff went back to DOLA and got another 2-year extension until December of 2022. And that was what has been driving our conversation with the Lions Pond, really since I've been here since last year. We had it in the budget. We had plans to do a bid on this project. This is a pretty extensive report because I wanted to give you as much information as you could. The problem I have with the Lions Pond is I feel like it was being rushed. It was being rushed because of the December 2022 grant deadline that we had to have all the construction done. And that was driving the town to do things like make the deposit on the bathrooms, which will be delivered sometime this fall. It put a rush on us for getting the construction done, all of the construction this year. And it also put a rush on us accepting the path for the sewer line, which, if you're very familiar with that pond, would mean trenching down about 8 feet between these two ponds,
It's crazy.
which is only about 25 feet wide through there.
Why did we ever plan it that there?
It
That's-
says we had 5 options and that's the only one we accepted.
Well, and then they chose
We could pick a
kind of
one.
a combination of 2 different options, and that's what finally got approved. Another concern I had is because of the lateness of getting the RFP out for the water combo bid, the $1.3 million water combo bid. We didn't receive any bids on that. I believe.
Because we didn't put the bids out.
Pardon me?
We didn't put the bids out.
We put the bids out March the 1st of this
Yeah,
year.
Right.
Like,
And contractors said they wouldn't go between the 2 ponds. The ones that I talked to.
So there was, what I was beginning to see after Russell left, after Catherine left, we were looking at the timeline for this, and we knew that without any bids and trying to get this project done, we felt like that we could still make this happen, but I began to question cutting between the ponds. It was always assumed that, well, we'll just lower the south pond. The south pond is about 5 feet higher than the north pond. So that's a lot of water to release. And quite frankly, I don't think staff ever looked into what needed to be done to release that water. So I began to look into it. I found out that we needed administrative release from the straight water engineer. And if they didn't provide that, we would have to go to the water court and make a petition. It affects our augmentation water for us and also for Winter Park Ranch. It affects our ability to meet water demands in case there's calls on the river. Because the only time you could refill that water is during Free River, which runs in the spring. So all of these complications and the fact that we went outside of the RFP program and located someone who just happens to be in the valley to do the work, I struggled with their bids. They said that they could not afford to get the surety to bid on the whole $1.3 million contract, but they did see that. And they even struggled on basically a $280,000 their bid for just the Lions Pond. Took them over a month to get any kind of surety. So that raised a lot of red flags in my book. We were rushing this project. Staff went back out and got another extension from DOLA to December of 2024. I have reached out to Bowman Consulting. The Tim Gagnon was the consultant at the time. I spoke to him about the process. I talked to Element Engineering. I talked to Merrick. I've raised the concerns, and no one has given me any kind of assurance that these ponds won't fail. I'm concerned about the ponds failing. There's another water line about half the distance away from where this location will be, and just about the same linear feet on the sewer line. And that's located at the corner of the the southeast corner of that parking lot between the Marketplace and Safeway.
Perfect.
It's a straight line.
It's a no brainer.
We don't have to tear up the ponds.
Can you explain exactly where that is?
Pardon me?
Market, what's the marketplace?
Workplace, that's where the secondhand store is. That's what that building is called.
Oh, that would go-
And the
stuff?
doctor's office, the optometrist.
Well, you can see, but here's the two ponds, here's that narrow gap.
Right.
They want to put the restroom here.
I
That
understand.
here is where they have water and sewer service.
Hmm.
Belongs to Winter Park Ranch, not down Fraser.
They're probably-
Safe for that.
No, contract.
Well,
Yeah.
That's how we run that.
Pardon me?
When we did the bathrooms, I thought that's where we were running the line originally before we kind of split the two ponds.
Doesn't it, we have a master plan about that whole area. Doesn't it seem like a far way to go if everything happened, everything comes to fruition, like the amphitheater and everything else? Would that be way far away with the master plan?
No, it's just right in
No.
line with the location. of the
Yeah.
master plan.
The restroom.
But
Well,
we
it's a-
get a lot more use too right there.
Yeah. Well, the location makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
You know, it's a great location.
And the location of the water line
Yeah, the
and the sewer lines.
I
Yeah.
mean, they were gonna trace almost 1,500 feet of water line from well south of the South Pond,
Mhm.
up and around, tracing through there. It's gonna be almost a fifth of a mile long. One way, 4-inch pipe. We would have
Mm.
sanitation issues. There was no blow off or manholes or hydrants in the construction plans. I just had a lot of issues. It just
Yeah.
wasn't making sense.
As you should.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
I thought we brought that up. There's some family members that-
But whatever. So good. We got that now.
So what does Winter Park Ranch say about that?
Winter Park Ranch, I had one conversation with them about, the pond augmentation and all of that. And, but I have not spoke to them about basically buying a tap from it.
Yeah. That shouldn't be an issue. It's hardly gonna have any impact.
And I would also propose
No
that
showers,
their,
dishwashers.
their offices are on Fraser Water and Sewer. I think we could work out an exchange.
We just trade it now.
You know,
That's great.
and we've got a good relationship with them. And the nice thing is we've got until December of 2024.
Yeah.
And one last factor that I would like to talk related to this project. In the course of investigating this, I discovered that, a local contractor, Conroe Excavating, had some issues with the town. And made some comments that they would never work with the town. I feel like I've patched their relationship.
Your mic is not on.
Sorry, I feel like that I've patched those relationships. I've had meetings with Jay Conroy. He's eager to get back in good
Working.
cahoots with the town.
Wonderful.
He has pledged that he can
work.
complete the foundation for the bathroom this year. And if we get approved plans, he would even commit to doing the water and sewer infrastructure this year as well.
Excellent.
Good guy. I'm glad he's on board.
Yeah. Does that include Buyers Ave?
What's that?
Is Buyers Ave still on the table for this year? Is that?
I
for
would
next
love to
year?
already do that.
That's a
Conroy.
deeper topic, but I'm
Okay.
happy to talk about it if the board wants to hear about Byers Avenue.
Well, just because they originally, both projects were on that same bid.
They were.
Okay.
They were. Byers Avenue also has a few complications. Well, the biggest complication I have with Byers Avenue is when we got the bid from Taylor, again, I'm a little questioning that.
Yeah.
It came in well over budget. It did not include any of the service line connections or even to the curb stop expansion. And we would basically be tearing out all of Byers Avenue, abandoning the line, dropping a new line in deeper, but we'd have to connect to the existing service line and curb stops. Then we'll be repaving the road.
You have to dig up
And
my
if-
yard.
and for the customers to make those service line improvements, they would have to dig the road back up to put a new curb stop in and new service line. So I've asked Merrick to examine taking this and expanding that infrastructure out to the curb stops for those 23 residents. That will certainly make it easier for them to replace their service line. If they have to cut into a street that we've just repaved, we'll have 23 brand new cuts in a brand new street.
Yeah.
Over a 2 or 3 year period, it will be a mess.
Yeah.
And it will cost them probably 5 times what just a normal.
So maybe next year.
We'll have to see. We'll have to
Okay.
see. And I'm gonna be looking at, if it cannot get completed this year, I'll be working with Rob and our utilities department to come up with a plan so that they can bleed their valves. Conroy also said that he can come in and put in, heat tape, water soluble heat tape, run it through service lines in the house. We're exploring some options so that we don't have this same freezing issue. But, not getting bids and poor construction plans are kind of hurting us on this one.
I'm glad that Conroy's back on board. with
I'm
us.
glad too.
That's huge.
Any other questions on? Thank you.
Good work, Ed.
That's taken a lot of time.
I'm sure all of these things have taken a lot of time. Thank you.
Okay, Board of Trustees retreat. That's ahead again.
Just want to get your ideas of when and what topics. Or whether that's even needed this year.
Well, we talked about October.
Well, how did the survey,
Yeah, how did the dates,
the,
who's done that, Michael?
Oh, I didn't do that.
The doodle poll on
Good.
dates.
I
Thank you.
haven't responded yet.
oh my God.
I didn't even get it.
You didn't get it?
So what did I
Did you
say?
get it?
I did, I said it last time.
In a while.
I'll do it right now.
Should be in your email.
But I think the consensus was that October is when things
That's
start to
great.
settle down for people.
Well, it. There are lots of dates on there that we were supposed to choose.
Okay.
Did you
Okay.
choose?
Yeah.
I will.
Well, aren't you
I-
guys? You guys get.
I
the
did.
gold-
I say whatever Eileen says.
Where's
You're
my,
the only one.
where's my gold stars at? They've
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yes, I did. I chose.
Your rubber palette.
I remember when it was.
What's the name of it? What is the subject on that email, Michael? Do you know?
Michael reported to you. too.
Thank you, Michael. Will you forward it to me again? I'm sorry. Thank you. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we've got it. This is a long ways out. We don't.
Yeah, not tonight.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is,
So I
we have a
think we
long
should
night.
Sorry, Ed.
Everybody should fill it
Yeah.
out.
This is whatever.
Right.
Yes, prioritize. I'm sorry.
Right, and then let's,
Then we can,
sorry, I can't do a 6 or 8 hour day of aligned influence. So we should come up with something that.
Yeah.
Different than aligned influence for an all day. I would,
About how we run a government. like a business.
You don't want to do that. That's a big mistake.
You've done both.
anyhow, if we can, maybe think of ideas that the board would like to discuss and during our retreat and send them, that would be great too.
I will say during that time period in October, we'll be having the budget process. So there'll be a lot of work sessions on the budget as well, so. Something to keep in mind.
Okay. Late September.
Okay, next is open forum. So this is where we allow the public to address the board. We have one public in sitting here in the house. If they'd like to address the board, come up to the podium, state your name, and then if you live in the town of Fraser or not, you don't have to give us your address, but if you live in the town of Fraser or not.
That's Paula.
Paula
Yeah,
Stewart,
sure.
for those of you who don't know
I
me.
didn't know.
I think
I've never
you're
met.
probably the only one mayor who doesn't know me personally. But in any case, I do live in Fraser. And the reason that I just wanted to ask really a question of the board, and that is, I'm a little confused as the newly appointed chair of EDAC as to what the process is about getting approval for our recommendations. Sarah's going to speak to some parking recommendations that we came up with at our last meeting. I would just like to know what you feel is the protocol. Am I meant to write a memo with recommendations to the board or whatever we do, farmers market, parking, or, what is it that you're looking for? Because it slows down our ability to move forward if we don't understand what the process is. So that's my question.
Great. I'm glad you showed up and stuck
I've
around.
been waiting for quite a while.
All right. All right. So the process in the past has been that your lead staff member would then would put together a memo and bring it to the board and say, here's what EDAC is recommending. That's been the process in the past. And you gotta, can you come back to the mic so that those online can hear us?
Yeah.
And then start over because I was talking over you.
Katie is listed as being a part of our group, but you haven't been able to come the last couple of times. I don't know whether you want to participate or whether Ed's going to come. I know Sarah's coming, is hugely helpful. Organized a very good presentation from Market Street, Colorado, for example, at our last meeting. And I actually have a one-on-one meeting with the person who's in charge of that program to try and get that up and running for the town. So I'm trying to understand who is the person besides Sarah. Is it going to be Katie? Is it going to be Ed?
It will not be Katie. Katie is not on staff. She's on the
Right.
board. So
Right.
she's not going to be writing memos and bringing it back. So it would be,
Okay.
it would be Sarah or it's probably
So
going to be
now,
Sarah. if
can
Ed doesn't.
Paula's pretty organized though. She's got her finger on the pulse of this.
Mhm.
Would that be something that you would want to write up and then share it with Sarah? And then
Yeah,
she
I
can
don't
give it
have-
to
you
staff?
also come too.
Just come in.
Yeah, I don't have a problem writing or doing anything that you direct. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to understand what the direction is. I unfortunately was away out of the country during the work session that you had, and I did listen to the YouTube and did reach out to Ed about what he thought his priorities were. And we did make some recommendations at our last meeting about parking, and the farmer's market is going to go forward. Lewis was on Zoom with us at that meeting, which I appreciated. And I'm just trying to understand what the process is that you want me to follow, and I'll do whatever it is. I mean, I don't have a problem writing memos. Just
Yeah.
trying to understand what approval process is it that we need to go through for anything we do.
If I could make a recommendation, Sarah is your primary staff support person. I have an interest in EDAC and what they're doing, especially under the new leadership, under the new direction from the board. And I came to the first meeting. I could not come to the next meeting because I had another engagement. And that's my problem with saying, yeah, I'll be there every month because I can't control
Okay.
my schedule for long.
Yeah,
But
that's
Sarah will be your primary person.
That's
And
fine.
just like under the PAC, Sarah brings recommendations to the board from that committee.
okay.
And then once it becomes the board, it becomes part of a discussion, an action plan at
Okay,
that point.
Fair enough. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Thanks.
for all your
It
work.
was nice
Paula.
meeting you too. Put a face with the name now.
Now you know.
Yeah, you know.
Thank you.
Excellent. Is there anybody online? No.
Could I request a break?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'll
between
make
now
my
and the
update. I'll make my update really, really quick. I'm famous for that.
For the parking permit?
Yes. Mhm.
Can we do the parking first? That could go longer than you think.
I'm gonna do a 5-minute break.
Okay.
All right.
It's not just gonna leave.
That's why I just.
Did you sign yourself up for the notifications?
Well, I got
You're at updates section and Economic Development Advisory Committee parking recommendations. Sarah.
Hi, everybody. So as part of EDAC's direction from the town board, it was to work on parking. They have a temporary proposal for this summer. The mayor suggested using the south side of Victoria Village and also the property behind the distillery right near the Fraser River Trail for event parking. They'd like to use that for additional parking in general throughout the week too, not just for events. They would also like to post some additional signage encouraging people to pull over and, you know, stretch your legs in Fraser. And then beyond those signs, there would be parking right near where those additional parking areas are. So they're just looking for the go ahead to, number one, use those properties for basically summertime and overflow parking for the businesses, and event parking. And then also the signage to encourage more people to stop and explore Fraser.
Can we put there no overnight parking?
Yes,
Because otherwise we'll end up with all the trash.
because we had, you know, and that
They were there
was
forever
a
and-
thing, you know, there was all of those cars that were parked over there too.
We didn't
So
own the property then.
What about people who can't drive home because they've been drinking in Fraser? You don't want to penalize them.
right.
Yeah, maybe like a one night, but not long. No more than 24 hours.
One drunk allowed.
We should,
Yeah. We should make some "I'm too drunk to drive" signs and you smack them in on your dash.
Yeah.
I got drunk in
Don't-
Fraser.
yeah, don't take it. Don't tow my car. I got drunk at Fisher's.
I got drunk in Fraser.
Okay.
I think there's some great ideas for temporary parking fix.
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So along,
The south side of Victoria Village.
yeah,
right-
thank you.
Mhm.
Whichever road that is.
Mhm.
Park-
Are we gonna
park,
put in like parallel, or are they gonna go in horizontally like all the junky cars were?
Get more for the horizontal.
It would most likely be horizontal.
See what we can do.
Mhm.
We need to put any, do we need to do any work with it? Smooth it out, gravel it out?
I'll talk to Public Works and see
Okay.
what they think. I think we want to put like minimal effort or
Yeah.
minimal work into it because it's
Yeah.
just temporary.
Yeah.
So-
And minimal funds.
And minimal
Yeah.
funds.
Good.
But we do need signage there.
We do
Right.
need signage, and we've talked about needing the
Mhm.
signage.
Who's gonna design the signage, Sarah?
I mean, it's gonna be parking signs.
Just
you know,
like parking?
Mhm.
Right, Okay.
For now.
That's pretty much the standard sign that we follow. So.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of like how you said, let's stop and stretch your legs in Fraser. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, we were thinking of just
Like
some
with
really
arrow, like a
simple
retro arrow or something.
flags or something
instead
like
of
that
just
that we
like-
can.
Some legs.
Mhm.
You could get
Right,
the bottom
something that
half.
falls in line with Fraser.
You could get the
artsy,
bottom half of
funky.
the mannequin.
That scared the crap out of me
Yeah,
yesterday. by the
doesn't it
way.
everybody?
Laura
mannequin.
Barnhart had
And-
a few things to say about that
With
mannequin.
Michael on vacation. So like this mannequin with a Fraser
Might
hat
have to go
on,
back in the
and there I was like, what the-
Okay, we are.
So we're
depressed.
gonna move forward with that. And then
Good,
I just
thank
have a
you.
couple of really quick things. The farmer's market is moving forward and Michael, can you pull up the website?
Awesome. Thank you.
So if you go to Explore Fraser and then go to shop. There's the farmer's market. And you scroll down. And there's a map of the vendors right now. And if you click on the day, it'll show you who the vendors are for each day that we have listed. And then, yeah, Michael, can you scroll down all the way down? You can see all the vendors. So yeah, we have 16 spots and 13 for each date right now. So we have, you know, 3 spots
awesome.
open. So,
Right.
you know,
Good.
even if we don't fill them all, I think it's a good start. I think I talked to one of my friends who went to the Granby one tonight and they have 10 there. So
Okay.
we're doing a little bit better than they are. So.
Mhm. And what night of the week?
Friday,
Friday night.
3 to 7.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay.
So what are you doing to advertise or putting up any signage around town or?
Day of.
Chaos.
Yes, I ordered some flags, so I think one will go on 40 and then a couple at the actual site. And then maybe get the mobile messaging boards out there too and say farmer's market 3 to 7.
I was thinking about maybe, putting something up at the post office or
Mhm.
Safeway, or, I mean, go ahead and put it up now for
Right.
the residents, at least they know it's coming, right?
Mhm.
Or other places, I'm not.
We
sure
should
else.
put it at the Foundry, man, and get the winter time people to come down.
And maybe
Saying.
on the front page of our website, our webpage.
Yeah, like
do
the
a little something
the
that says,
pop-up.
new farmer's market,
Mhm.
And the Sky High
Fridays,
News.
and then they could link to that.
And I think if we get, or Sarah takes a, or someone gets a good photo of the first one, we could probably get it in the paper for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
There's only
for the
3.
next
so.
one. I know, but then they'll know. We can't just like,
Oh, that's
what do you want to have like a
Right.
recreation of it before
That's
you?
great.
I just
Pre-creation
envisioned
video?
like a once a week Friday or, I don't know.
We're starting small.
I'm
starting
super stoked that it's happening.
Okay.
Yeah. me
And
too.
then the Jack Kerouac statue will be going in either next week or the following week. And we're gonna do a big unveiling, probably during the mural festival or a dedication.
Then we got to thank our Rich Chimino, county
Mhm.
commissioners for that. And
Right.
he
He was the
was the
driver.
majority spender, because each commissioner has their own little pocket of money. And Rich, I think he gave, how much was it? 40?
Yeah.
So I think
40,000.
his 39,000 of it came out of his budget. And,
Wow. To find this home
Yeah.
for Jack. That's
So yeah, if you see Commissioner Chimino out and about, thank him for Jack
Alright.
Kerouac.
And then there's 3 sculpture or 4 actually going in. One at the rec center, there's gonna be a new one that we purchased. There's gonna be one at the Lions Ponds area. And then a new one at the church and one near Vicious Cycle too, all within the next 3 to 4 months. That's it.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Are we buying or are we just renting? this?
We're actually purchasing a lot too, because since we've kind of expanded the call for artists in the sculpture realm. We've found some sculptures that are less expensive, so we're able to purchase them.
Can I make one observation without hurting anybody's feelings?
Yeah.
Can we get more colorful
Mhm.
sculptures? Because the rusted metal look just blends into
Absolutely.
the background,
Better than the not rusted metal flower pots
the flower
that are in
pots,
front of
yeah,
Sharkies.
yeah,
They're like blinding.
right.
The one going in at the rec center actually is
Awful.
solar lights and it
Oh,
glows at night. so-
Ooh.
You're talking about the
The
culverts.
culverts?
Yeah.
I remember when Veronica saw them, she's like, are these gonna rust? I'm like, I don't.
What could we do at Winter Park Yards with the moose
don't
and
matter.
dress them up?
Oh my gosh.
Let's dress up Jack.
That's your
You should,
job.
yeah, we should have
Take turns. dressing
we should
Jack.
have the mannequin out there all year and just
You
change
should put
his,
the mannequin inside the snowcat.
and then
We
change out
have
his
before and
costume.
it's, I think one year it was the Grinch
Grinch,
and then for Christmas and then Pennywise the clown for Halloween and
Nice. Oh,
we had
that's right,
Jason
Pennywise
in
was in
there.
there.
That's scary. Driving around.
I think we need to look that up too. I'm just saying. Like the back end of it, it kind of looks like it crashed there. The snowcat.
It's
I just thrown it
climbing,
out
it's
there.
climbing the rock.
That's what it's supposed to
That's
be.
all I
now.
Or maybe it could have like more colorful.
Thanks, Sarah.
Welcome to Fraser on it.
Thanks, thanks
The
thanks
se-
to the EDAC for, but you're, we really appreciate all you guys are doing on the parking, but that job has just started with park. Okay, excellent. And I really appreciate you coming tonight. I really do.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Thanks,
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, Main Street. Yeah,
I think. Funding sources are.
right.
Resources.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
I'll be
Excellent.
there.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
Right.
And then do we have,
Can I just make a comment about the snowcat?
if you'd like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
it's a Tucker. So I'd like it to be named Edna
Yes.
and have
That's awesome.
something about her history in it or on it or.
That's funny.
That's great.
If
That's fun.
people
Okay.
don't know Edna Tucker, she was the
She's
postmaster here for what,
postmaster
40 years or something.
forever. And she reported the weather here.
Yeah.
That
Back
is
to the
more
ice
so.
of the nation.
And that's awesome.
Forever.
Okay, we still
Okay,
got, we
sorry.
still have an executive session.
Okay.
so,
I have one
We
thing.
need some morale booster around here. This is fun to talk about.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Every year we sponsor High Country Stampede Rodeo, $300 donation to the Horsemen's Association. In appreciation, they have invited a representative from Fraser to attend their July 30th celebration from 9 p.m. to midnight, a Western dance and so forth. And anyone volunteering to go? Philip, you don't want to put on cowboy boots?
I do, I have cowboy boots.
Then Katie Fisher, she wants to go.
I volunteer at the watering hole anyway. I'll be there.
There you go. You'll represent the town.
Do I have to go? Like, I'm gonna be there already.
Yeah, yes.
You guys forget that I graduated high school from.
Yes, I want to dress
I
up.
have cowboy boots.
Well, if you can already be there, then somebody else can go too.
Yeah.
So what-
I
What's
thought-
the date?
Yeah, Brian, go.
It's,
What's the
it's,
date?
there's
What's
too
the-
many people speaking. There's July 30th at 9 p.m. to midnight is the dance. So that's it.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm out of town.
I'll go if you can give me a ride home, Katie.
Uh-oh.
I can't guarantee that, but we can walk together.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Okay,
you're-
the Katie's. Katie will be
Katie's,
there.
Katie's, yeah. Okay, and then we have Grand County, why is this on? Grand County building permit down?
That's just a report.
Okay. Okay, and then any other updates from board or?
Um, I would think we should have a few words for the people from the people who attended CML. If we have time for that.
We do
Let's-
that next meeting.
Let's put it on the agenda. Then I
Yeah.
bring my notes.
Yeah, I forgot mine too. Okay.
But then
Yeah,
July
but this
20th.
was a pretty full agenda.
Yeah,
But if
we're
there's
not-
room,
We're not done yet.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
yeah, I know.
Okay, any other updates?
I have a question for the board. But can someone tell me why it is named Lions Club Ponds? I wasn't on the board.
It's not, it's Cousins Ranch Linear Park. I think people just call it the Lions Pond.
Well, the
There's a
Lions,
sign.
the Lions built because the,
The trail and the decks for the
right,
yeah, handicap.
and the Eisenhower was funded and done by the Lions. I
Okay.
mean, a
They-
lot of people, they spearheaded the contributions for the statue and
Right.
had the ceremony.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to really get at is who maintains it and why is there's like so much fishing line and everything in the trees. It's like you can't even take your dog there. I'm curious to like who takes care of that.
Winter Park Ranch
Ooh.
takes care of that.
If you ever been
Water and
fly fishing
sanitation district. They own the water.
Yeah, but I mean someone should be taking care of it and getting the
in the
you know,
trees.
in the trees and there's hooks and
But we own the land. They own the water.
Maybe we can work out a trade on the water and sewer line. If we'll come up around the water.
Don't complicate my life anymore.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's got a lot on his.
just curious.
So it's not
It's
officially.
not really
called-
officially the Lions Club
No.
Ponds.
No, it's the
Cousins-
Cousins Ranch Linear Park is what, right?
But they are.
Am I
called
the
Lions
oldest? Am I
Ponds.
the oldest?
And the Lions.
I wasn't here. I don't know. I just
And-
think
I am.
the
You have a
Lions
couple
stock the
months on
fish,
it.
don't they?
I am. Huh?
yeah, who stocks the fish?
I think it's the Lions that stock the fish.
Yeah,
and Support
I,
the program there.
But it's not, it's, okay, okay.
Okay, moving on. Let's
Okay.
get someone to clean it though.
Here, Katie, make a motion.
I make a motion to move into an executive session for a conference with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 246402. 4H regarding First Amendment complaints, including Town Manager Ed Cannon, Assistant Town Manager Michael Brack, and Town Attorney Kent Whitmer,
We're gonna add Chief Glenn Trainer to that list as
and
well.
Chief Glenn Trainer.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So the other staff is getting out of here.
Bye.
And Kent,
Enjoy North Carolina.
I believe that this does not need to be recorded since it's attorney-client communication.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ed.
Mayor, would you like to let the audience know we won't be coming back for adjourn after? the
There is no audience.
You did?
Yes. We're not coming back. There's no audience.
It might be listening on YouTube.